Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai, and welcome to Jagadambe Reads the Holy Books of India, Bhaktavijaya48. As you may remember, everybody looked at Kabir's scarf and thought it was too expensive for them, so nobody bought it. The garment that seemed to customers of the value at which they were willing to purchase it, that garment seemed to become double such value. Just as in every living being, the soul exists. Just so it was in this case, having planted mustard and onion, sugar cane, or any seed, and having given it water, its sap gets the same characteristic as the plant. When many musical instruments are being loudly played, space seems to take their very form. So Kabir's cloth seemed of a different nature to everyone who looked at it. Or one might think of gold as being homogeneous, but ornaments made from it seem of various kinds. Or just as a flame seems in size according as one piles on the wood. Or just as the beholder sees himself as he is in a looking glass held before him by a barber, so Kabir's scarf seemed to the customer. Looking at it from a distance, they said to themselves, "We have not the ability to pay for it, and not having sufficient money with which to purchase it, why needlessly go and ask the price?" Thus saying to themselves, customers went forward and aimlessly into the bazaar. In the meantime, the Bhakta Kabir, full of love, continued his worship of Sri Ram. As the sun began to set, the bazaar people began to dwindle. Kabir now opened his eyes and looked about him. Said he, "All the people have gone to their homes, and the scarf has no customer. If I go back to my home, my mother will give me a whipping." So saying, this Bhakta of Vishnu continued sitting calmly. Just then he noticed an empty house. God as a Brahmin tests Kabir. Kabir quickly arose and went and sat inside and continued his worship of Ram with love and affection. Just as a daughter-in-law hides herself and says, "My mother-in-law will treat me roughly," so Kabir, out of fear of his mother, sat alone in this deserted house. Or just as when Dhruva was kicked by his mother, and sulking went into the forest, so this Bhakta Kabir became indifferent to worldly things and went and sat down in this vacant house. Just as sannyasis attain their highest order by abandoning every form of action, so Kabir became indifferent to his domestic affairs and sat down in this vacant house. The servant of Vishnu, having entered this deserted house for that purpose, the pervader of the universe, seeing his devotion, came to test the truth of it. He took the form of a very aged Brahmin with old and torn clothes. The cold was intense, just as it is in the months of January and February. In order to test the generosity of Kabir, the life of the world entered, shivering. As he sat there, worshipping, this Brahmin arrived. Just as the son of Gadi arrived to give trouble to the king Harishchandra, or as the lord of Kailas, assuming the form of a guest, came to trouble Shriyal, or as the Muni Durvas, having heard of the goodness of Ambarish, came to trouble him, or as when God assumed the form of Vaman and came to test Bali with his own eyes. In that way, this Brahman spoke to Kabir in a distressed voice. "I'm old, helpless, and poor. I have no clothes to wear. You are the Bhakta of Vishnu and exceedingly generous. It is intensely cold. If you have any garments, give me some." As the dweller in the heaven Vaikuntha said thus. Kabir thought to himself, "If I say no to this Brahmin, it will be to the harm of my desire to be good." So he tore his scarf in half and gave one piece to the Brahmin. Sadhguru Nath Maharaj Ki Jai. Thank you for coming. I hope you come again.